right, we're live now. Don Lemon, Ahmed Baba, two brothers talking. We're both watching the Jackson hearing. Pardon me, I had a little cough, a little dry throat from the radiators. You have old school radiators, and you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. But good to see you. How are you?
I'm doing good. Got back from Wisconsin, gave a speech. The MLK speech went really well at the Capitol. But the most important question I actually think is, how are you, given everything going on? Uh,
I
I,
think everybody's like concerned, and thank you for sending. People are texting. You texted or whatever. I'm fine. You know me. I'm a soldier. I'm totally fine. I stick by my. I stand by my reporting, and I stand by the First Amendment. So everything else from there is just noise.
yeah, I don't know how much you could talk about it, but I will say from my perspective on this, I think he tried to use you as an example. I think, and all it's really doing is rallying more people behind your work. And I see they just charged some of the churchgoers there, and it's intimidation tactics. They don't want people to really be pushing back, protesting, or more importantly, doing the work you're doing on the ground, independently reporting on what's happening. You weren't involved in any of it, so just want to say we're all with you, man, and you know, we all got your back no matter what happens next.
I will say I've never seen so much support from organizations and individuals organizations I've never ever heard from, or even that I even knew existed, but just advocacy groups, people offering representation.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, people are competing to get this case because they think it's so ridiculous. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. But I appreciate all the support from the National Association of Black Journalists. Sorry, I told you about my um, for the Freedom Fund, just a number of groups out there who are in support.
Yeah.
The religious, not the some even religious organizations are supporting. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
In the meantime, they are breaking every norm and every rule and laws. And Donald Trump is in Davos, pretending like he owns a place and that he has a certain right to have Greenland. In the meantime, nobody is signing on for his peace council, or at least a lot of folks are not signing on for his so-called peace council. It's crazy. By the way, you're watching Two Brothers Talking with Ahmed Baba and Don Lemon. This is weekly. We have here on Substack. It will also run on YouTube later and on our other platforms. But make sure you smash the screen, smash the hearts, because it affects the algorithm and more people become aware of our conversation. That's how we stay viable on these streaming streets. And I'm going to cough. Excuse me.
No, all good. And yeah, we'll talk about Davos and then we can move to some of this Jack Smith hearing in a second. But yes, Davos, Donald really, I think he chickened out. He seemed to have hit some friction with the European leaders. Mark Carney of Canada gave that excellent speech that I think, for the first time, really laid out the post World War II order, man, and I described how he's disrupted it. And I think he ran up against friction. I think the bonds market spooked him, and it looks like homeboy backed out, as he always does.
What do you mean by that? I haven't paid that much attention to it because I've been, a little
Yeah.
busy.
Just a little slight busyness, not much going on there. So basically yesterday with Greenland, he gave that speech and he says, we're not going to use military force. And then he comes up with a concept of a framework, of a plan, of a potential deal, basically. Like
Oh, I did see that.
yeah,
Oh,
there's no
yes. I
details
now
on
know
it.
what you're talking about. Well, yesterday when we got it, and we actually covered this a bit yesterday when he said that he had a framework of a deal. And I'm like, what does that mean? That's or no, no. So he said he had yesterday, it was the
Yeah.
concept of a deal, right?
Yeah.
Like a concept of a plan. And I'm like, didn't they learn from the whole concept of a plan thing? And so someone must have gotten to him and said, and tried to reframe it. And the way they reframed it is like they have a framework of a deal. But what does that mean? That means nothing. That's like saying, I have a framework to buy um, Versailles or whatever, to buy the
Yeah.
Brooklyn Bridge. Okay, a framework means nothing. All that is a proposal, right? Or an
Yeah.
idea in someone's mind. It doesn't mean anything until you have people sitting around negotiating and there's something in writing from both sides saying, this is what we want, this is what we want. Then it means nothing. And I watch Fox News out there saying, the breaking news alert. Um, the president comes up with a framework of it. And it's like, what? Why are you falling for this bullshit? It means nothing.
It's nonsense. It's smoke and mirrors. I mean, I have a concept of a framework to become a billionaire, but that doesn't mean it's gonna happen tomorrow. Like, it's just
You know, I said
nonsense.
that this morning to my team on the editorial call. I was like, I the exact same thing that you said,
Same
Ahmed. I
joke.
said, I have a concept of becoming a billionaire. Are you listening to my calls? Are you
I
in the
mean,
feds?
hey, great minds, brother, great minds. That's why they call it's why, the great minds, brother. But like, seriously, this is just nothing. It's smoke and mirrors. He's basically reverting back to the state we're already in. We already have bases on Greenland. We have
Yeah.
access. They would give us if we wanted more rare earth minerals. I'm sure we could work a deal out. It's just he creates a spectacle. He has some weird, strange desire for something, and then when he got pushed back, he needs to have some kind of off ramp to placate his ego. So he just says, we have some deal that gets me what I actually really wanted the whole time. Art of the deal. It's just BS. It's BS.
It is BS. But do you know the real reason why he wants to do this, right? Why he wants Greenland?
I
I'm trying to
mean,
explain that to everyone.
several of them. I mean, there's I think mostly it's the egomania. It's in Project 2025. There's rehemisphering and there's so many different things. But also he wants. It's like what is your take on it?
He wants to be on Mount Rushmore.
Oh yeah, of course.
The
Yeah,
so the
he
and the folks who are on Mount Rushmore, if you look at what they did in order to accomplish that goal or to be up there, right, is they acquired land, and he wants to acquire new land and new
yeah
minerals for the United States, and he thinks that will secure his place on Mount Rushmore. That's what he wants. That's all he cares. He cares about branding. It's all a show. I
yeah
watched that. I was like, "Okay, maybe I'm being, partial or I'm biased or whatever." And so I even hedged a little bit because I was like, okay, I just want to, as he was performing on yesterday at Davos, at the summit. And I was like, this is really embarrassing. Like, he
yeah
not only embarrassed America, he embarrassed us. And I'm not embarrassed, obviously, to be an American. I'm very proud to be an American, but I was embarrassed for him and saddened that we have him as a president because he
yeah
sat on that stage and he said the thing and me, me, and then it's all about him. And basically, he's America first. America first in this Trump administration really means America alone. He's going to
yeah
put us on an island, similar to Russia or China or any of our adversaries, um, and people are not gonna support us. If
exactly.
he goes to take Greenland, he says he's not gonna do a hostile takeover, but if he were to do that, there are measures that would kick in from Article 5, right, for the agreement that we have, and they'd have to they'd have to take some sort of action against the United States, which would be odd.
Yeah, it would be
You know what I
insane.
mean?
Yeah, I mean, NATO wasn't designed for an attack from within, and it's really scary for these European leaders, and I think that's what we're seeing is people being fed up. Like that Mark Carney speech really made such a big impact from Canada when he talked about how that old post-war U.S. Reliance era is ending because you have this person here, like you said, that's the right word, embarrassment. I was on with Steffi Rule last night. Again, we were talking about all the money side of this, and they were all saying the same thing. Everyone agrees. This is embarrassing. Like, and no one is buying it. People in the markets, talking to people who, have sources and people on Wall Street, they just are indifferent to the taco trade. They all know he's going to chicken out on these things. They buy the dips. It's the endless cycle. They know he's going to cause a ruckus. And I think the world right now is really being just exhausted by living in this guy's volatile egomania. Like he keeps coming up with just new ridiculous things that he takes us to the edge of, brings us back from. And what I really want to know, you don't want to know my real question about what happened? Who who knew he was going to make that announcement yesterday? Who bought the dip? Who profited from that? Who profited from the markets rising? That's really what I want to know.
I had people texting me saying, "I wonder how many people in the cabinet became rich because of this." Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I
Yeah.
wonder how many people became rich. Oh my god.
So many people probably became rich.
So you
And
want Go on, go on.
oh no, go ahead. You were about to ask the question.
I was gonna ask, I wanted you to continue with your thing, but I was gonna ask you just about the sort of stagecraft there yesterday.
Yeah.
Because he was supposed to be being interviewed, and he took to the podium and gave this long speech. I don't think that was supposed to happen. I don't think so. It was supposed to happen, but because and the reason I believe it to be true is because he's at a podium and then there's an empty chair, and then way on the other side is the interviewer, and it was just really weird. And I think he was supposed to come in and sit down, but he decided to come and talk about how great the United States is, how much how much money we invest in NATO and not getting anything out of it, and we should get the
Yeah.
most out of it because and get whatever we want. We should get Greenland because we spend a lot of money with
Insane.
NATO. And then saying, if it wasn't for us, you would be speaking German. I was just like, oh my God. God,
Just
I'm so embarrassed.
insane, and I think the chair maybe was supposed to be there because Mark Carney had that too, but I don't think he was supposed to give as long of a speech as he did.
Yeah, yeah,
You're supposed to walk up, you talk a little bit, and then you go sit
right.
down. Instead, he sat there and was like, "You know what? I'm gonna." He called Greenland Iceland several
Yes,
times, and then the White
yes.
House was like, "He didn't say it. Look at the transcript." And it's like, "Oh, we have eyes and ears, but once again, you want us not to believe those." So they try to deny that he even called it Iceland. He said he won the 2020 election on stage up there. He's sitting there talking
Still litigating that.
he's just all about me, 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 just like this ego. And again, like, I think people are just over this. And I think hopefully what we're seeing in Europe and especially in Canada, even from our allies, is that you can't just flatter your way out of this. You express some force. You show there was threats of putting European troops in Greenland, and I think the show of force and response is what made him back off, along with the bond markets.
Did you see what the one leader from Denmark says, Mr. President, F off or F you?
Yes, yeah,
I think that's a treatment that all of the leaders need to give. Emmanuel Macron gave one, but he was also, he was very classy, you want to say, in his response, saying that we prefer leaders who have respect, who believe in science. And there was one other thing that he said, and then there was another person, not Starmer, but Mark Carney, as you mentioned,
yeah,
who gave a similar message. And so I think the European leaders are fed up with him.
yeah.
I think they're like probably at this summit, they're like, "You don't even go here."
Exactly, they're like it's just yeah, they're like, "You're a joke." I think he's starting to get that treatment that he got that pissed him off in New York, where everyone saw him as this, he really desperately wants to fit in with all these elites and all these intellectuals, but he's just never up to the level. He's classless, he's foolish, he was up there just making a fool out of himself. He's rambling on and on and on about nonsense no one believes, and he just started attacking Europe again, claiming that they're not doing enough and that they're weak and just like no he just has no respect, and it's just as an American, like you said, we're still proud to be Americans, but like, I'm embarrassed of this guy. Like, this guy does not represent who we are in the slightest. This is just, he represents the worst of us, but it's not us. And like the people in the UK, one of the things from my friends and journalist friends in the UK, they've been telling me that they're starting to view the US as an adversary, which is
Ugh.
hard to hear. It's really hard to hear.
And that's why people are not signing up to this damn peace council or whatever they
Yeah,
call
yeah.
it. I think it was Germany, I think that
Yeah.
said, "We're not
The
doing it,"
you
and,
got Belarus is in there, so I guess we should be happy with that. Like, what are we doing here? What is he it's insane, and then they all come up and they twist themselves into knots trying to justify all of this. Like all the
yeah. Well, he's coming I think he's leaving today. Look, and I'm sure they want him to leave, but it would be great if he didn't come back here. I mean, could go to live on an island, enjoy
just
your life.
go to Qatar. Just go to Qatar, go to the UAE, go live in Middle they he loves them. He loves his rich Arabs apparently, so go over there and do your thing.
So you talked about the Greenland, Iceland thing and the rambling that I've been seeing not only at Davos but in other places. Why isn't anyone talking about his cognitive decline and or writing books or writing extensive articles about his cognitive decline? Because when I watch him and I listen to him, I'm like, something is going on. I'm not a doctor, I can't diagnose, but I do have eyes and ears, and it's a very similar question for those of you who will be watching this or criticizing this as what I asked Karine Jean-Pierre about Joe Biden. And I said, he has said that his age is an issue. And, you see him slowing down a bit. Do you have the stamina? Do you think he has the stamina to, another term? And she's like, well, I can't believe you're asking me that. So if I ask that question about Joe Biden, I can certainly ask that question about Donald Trump. I have eyes and ears, and something is up.
Yeah.
He rambles, he mixes up statements, people's names, all kinds of shit.
Yeah, no, 100%, and he also has a new bruise on his other hand this time. I saw on a picture up in Davos where it's, like, on the left hand this time, and it's like, there's clearly something going on with his health, and yeah, with cognitively, homeboy's not all there. I'm not an expert, but I can tell homeboy's not all there, all right? Like, this is not the first term Trump, as bad as he was back then. He is mixing up his words, and he called Biden Sleepy Joe. This dude has slept I've seen him sleep more than I've ever seen Joe Biden sleep. Every other cabinet meeting, he's sitting there nodding off, and it's like, where and I guess maybe it's because he presents as more energetic, I guess. I don't know what excuse, some of these journalists have for not talking about it. But I do think, like, the New York Times did a really long story on it, and I think we're gonna start to see some people talk more about it.
What
But
did the top story say? What did
well, the Times story came out, I think, about, like, 2 weeks ago. Let me pull it up, um, where it talked about his stamina. Signs of fatigue is the headline. It came out in November. Signs of fatigue. Trump faces realities of aging in office. So this is
no,
one of the
okay, I
first.
saw that. I thought
Yeah,
this was something new, but go ahead.
yeah. So
Let's
that's one of the first indications I've seen, and then I think maybe it'll snowball as the years go on because this is only going to get worse. And I think right now we're seeing as Trump gets more addled, he's being more easily manipulated. You hear more Stephen Miller in the way he talks. You hear more Rubio or Vance. You can tell that this is a Rubio Vance foreign policy. This is a Stephen Miller and domestic policy. I don't know how much of Donald is left in there.
But they have those people around him like Caroline Levitt who are saying, "The speech was a hit and people loved it," and that's not what he said. As you mentioned, that's not what he said. Unless you go back and look at the transcript,
Yeah,
and it does if you actually read the transcript, you're like, "Wait, what is he talking about?" Like, listen, like, look at that sentence structure, like, what is that?
it's insane, and they're just lying to our faces. And then if you go read the transcript, you want to really read it. Dude was on the stage at the Q&A and said that he had received polls before 2020 that said, or before 2024, said basically if Abraham Lincoln had been brought back to life or George Washington, they wouldn't have been able to beat him in an election. That's what he said. He said apparently he'd been shown polls that was the case. He is out of his mind. He's out of his mind. I just there's no other way to put it, man. He's out of his mind.
I know, but besides, complaining about it, I don't know what the solution is because he has all of these glazers and
Yeah.
butt kissers around him and people who know that they're not qualified for these positions. They know that they wouldn't be in these positions if he did not appoint them. So of course they're going to sign off on every word and they're going to make excuses for every fumble and mistake. But unlike the staff that was there before, remember the John
Mhm.
Kellys of the world
Yep.
who are like, you know what, I'm not down with this. So look, we're in for it. We're in for it. And if Trump is not there, let's just say, God forbid, something happens to him. If Trump is not there, then you get JD Vance. And do you want that as well? So
No. No, you do not. You do not. Oh, you just froze up for a second, but I
I'm
got your
here.
audio back. Yeah. You do not want JD Vance. And I think heading into 2028, uh, it's just I don't know, man. This whole administration, they're just all around him, feeding him nonsense. They're emboldening his worst impulses, and he's his absolute worst self right now. And as he's getting more addled, I think one of the things we see or we should see, I think it's about narrative. So I think if the media and we're all talking about it, but if we see more mainstream media outlets talking about his weakness and his aging, it'll become more of a narrative with Americans, and then his age and his health will start to be more of a concern. I saw people remember that time he disappeared for a few days
Yeah.
earlier last year, and everyone thought something had happened.
Where is he?
Um,
Where is
what is going on? Has he had health events? I feel like we're gonna learn in the future that something has happened. I mean, Woodrow Wilson apparently had 2 strokes when he was trying to negotiate after trying to negotiate the Treaty of Versailles, right? And it's like, hid that, and it's like, what has been going on with Donald right now? And I think journalists need to be pushing more into that. For the people who do have sources there. I don't have sources in there because I don't like talking to those people. But the people who do have sources in the White House, go investigate, please.
Yeah. Well, and then look, in the meantime, I want to go sort of circle back to what we talked about. I want to get your opinion when you see because I went out and I saw what was happening in Minnesota. Obviously, I witnessed in Chicago, did a good, nice little stint in Chicago, and then also in Minneapolis, St. Paul. But as you look at what's happening to the people on the streets and the protesters there being gassed and all of that, what do you think, Ahmed?
I'm just appalled. Like I just think it's morally reprehensible. I think it's unlawful what they're doing. They're violating Fourth Amendment rights, unreasonable searches and seizures left and right, harassing random people at gas stations. Saw a U.S. citizen in their underwear being taken out their house. Now I'm seeing reports that children have been taken by ICE and children are being targeted. Like it's just enough is enough, you know? Like what I'm at the point I'm getting to is I'm struggling to empathize with anybody that defends it. I'm struggling to put myself in the shoes of a Republican voter that cheers this on because it's objectively vile.
Yeah,
That's where I'm starting to get to.
I have little patience for the any of the folks who make excuses for him and who make excuses for this behavior it because it's inhumane. And many of the people who make excuses for this are people who call themselves good people. They call themselves Christians. They call themselves, loving, God fearing people. And what would Jesus do? I think that's what would Jesus do? The same Jesus that turned the tables over,
Mhm.
in the in the temple. And it's like, what would he do? You know what I'm saying?
No, yeah, no,
And
that's a
why
great
why are
question.
you not abiding by your Christian values? And if that's a problem, what about the Constitution?
Yeah, what about the Constitution? And with Jesus, we have, someone who is not just preaching love thy neighbor and welcome the stranger. He did flip those tables over. I'm glad you bring that up because he was a political revolutionary. That's what he, if we talk about history, the non-religious figure, he was a political revolutionary. I think if Jesus was here today, Jesus would have been rounded up by ICE.
Go on.
If like I think Jesus, if Jesus was walking around, Jesus would be on the side of the protesters. Jesus would be the
Jesus,
one.
Mary, and Joseph would be rounded up because
Well,
they're, they
exactly,
crossed over.
and yeah, and I don't think that's even controversial to say. I think right now that the people who are preaching the message of love each other and protect each other and stand up for each other are the ones who are trying to protect their neighbors and literally abiding by Jesus' teachings. And I think, yeah, if Jesus crossed the border right now, he wouldn't be able to get in the U.S. You know, like the reincarnation of Christ would be targeted by this administration is how they're behaving, frankly, and I just think I don't know. It goes to the soul of people, and people got to have a moral reawakening because this is not it. This is not it.
Let me ask you, and I should know this, pardon my ignorance. You write stuff on Substack? Because I know we do lives.
Yeah, yeah,
What are
yeah.
you working on? Or what
Well,
should people watch or read
what
rather?
do people watch or read? Well, I will do a shameless plug. I did just publish my full speech from the MLK Day in Wisconsin on my
Mhm.
Substack. And that's what I would point people to go watch. It's up on my homepage. I just put like a month of work into it and like really took it seriously, and it played really well in the state at the Capitol. So it's just I just it's just a message of like grappling with what we're doing right now and focusing on the future and the fact that we have been through way worse before. And if they could do it during their time, then we can 100% do this during our time and beat this back because they face like significantly more violence and suffering than we did.
Where was your speech again?
It was in the Wisconsin Capitol building. It was their
Wisconsin.
and yeah, it was their annual like MLK commemoration. They just randomly called me. They saw me. I guess they saw me on an appearance, and then someone got my number and they
They saw
invited me
you
to
right
do
now
it.
was talking. That's what
Yeah,
happened.
yeah, they saw. Yeah, no, they saw me on Two Brothers Talk. They were like, "Oh, he's talking to Don Lemon." Maybe truly, they saw me on Two Brothers Talking, and then they were like, "Yo, you're spitting flames. Come talk about MLK." And they let me get political. They let me talk about Renee Good. You know, they didn't really do creative control in my speech, so I'm really happy with how it went, man.
Well, I had a very similar experience because, we weren't far from each other, as the crow flies. I was in Chicago,
Oh, great,
with the Rainbow Push hosting their, annual King breakfast, and, and also I used to work in Chicago. So there
nice.
were so many familiar faces that I and people that I got to re-engage with, and it was amazing. I felt like the mayor. I was actually sitting next to the mayor at a table, and
Nice.
I was like, I looked over and I was like, wow, my crowd that's coming over to say to get selfies with me is rivaling the mayor. Holy
Yeah,
schmoly! But anyway,
amazing.
and the mayor Brandon Johnson is great. He gave a speech, but it was when you talked about support at the beginning of this. I had never seen so much support. I had never had so many attorneys, civil rights, First Amendment, whatever, approach me. Like all kinds of people. It was just, and then it made you remember what what's important in this country, what's worth
Yes.
fighting for, and it reconfirms my belief in the First Amendment in our
Mhm.
Constitution, even when people are disobeying the Constitution. It's sort of similar to however you feel about whatever religion it is. Just because others are not obeying and going by those tenets, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't.
Yes, no, exactly, man. And I was actually thinking about you that morning of that speech, that day, because I looked on Twitter and what was trending number 1 and 2 was Don Lemon and MLK.
Wait, I know people said you beat
You
Dr.
were
King. I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah, you were above
oh,
Dr.
stop
King
it.
for the first part of the day. Yeah,
Yeah,
because and it just was
sad that
like
we live in a country that
but
happened.
it's like you were doing something important, and I just gotta give you your props for that. Like, it's legit, no joke. You went there and you were on the ground reporting on what's happening, reporting on the movement and the protests, and it's the real stuff that this administration doesn't want to be seen, and you were doing the right thing, and they can sit there and try to, do whatever they do or target you or target, these other protesters, but it's just chest beating, it's baseless, and got mad respect for what you did out there and what you do, man.
Thank you very much, Ahmed Baba. Until I see you next week for Two Brothers Talking, have a good one, okay?
All right. You too, man. Take
See
it
you
easy.
next time.
All right.
Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Your support means the world to us. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe so you never miss a show. We're live every weekday at 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. Eastern Time with new clips dropping at 2 p. and 8 p. And if you want even more Don Lemon Show content, join the Lemon community. Members get exclusive posts, behind the scenes videos, and live chats just for you. So hit the join button or visit our channel page to sign up. Thanks again for all your love and your support, and I'll see you next time.